Well, ladies and gentlemen, well, there you have it. It is night four, and we're continuing this series. And I'm glad you guys are joining us because it's really all about 20 lessons we've learned in 2020. And so you don't want to miss tonight's conversation. I have my good friend Dominick Antonino joining me. I'm in the great city of Houston. Yep, I'm going to be going into 2021 in Houston. And look, there's a beautiful city out there, downtown Houston, and I'm excited about what's going to happen here in this beautiful city tonight. But we're starting talk tonight with my good friend Dominick Antonino. Dominick, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, my friend. How about yourself?
Excellent, man. 2020 lessons we have learned. That's what it's been all about this week.
Oh
And
yeah.
now, tomorrow is the first of 2021. How you been feeling about going into the new year?
Optimistic, man. Hopeful, optimistic.
Yeah,
A lot of pressure going into 2021, but it's good pressure. Every
yeah,
time you try to make a move forward, there's
yeah,
added pressures and things that you got to face. So, but overall, I'm excited. I think we have the right things in place to
yeah.
make the most of it. So, yeah.
I believe that. I'm totally confident of that as well. You have had an interesting year. You're my friend, my brother.
Yeah.
We've been walking this year out together. How's 2020 been to you outside of the lessons you've learned right now? We're not going into that yet, but just overall, a recap of Dominick Antonino's 2020 year.
Yeah. I think, if I look at it from an emotional sense, from
Yeah,
my mind, it's been a tough year. It's been a challenging year.
yeah,
But when I look at what we were able to accomplish, it's very encouraging. I'll say it cost a lot in the way of peace of mind, but we accomplished a lot in 2020. So I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged.
So you're a great example. You're a great example that even in a pandemic, one can advance. I am
Oh
looking
yeah.
forward to your lessons. And so we've had Siobhan Lloyd on day one, and then we had Vito and Linda Patrick on day two, and then we had Catherine Benaby on day three. Now we have
Hmm.
you, Dominick, on day four.
Day
Let's go
four.
ahead and let you dive right in, man. We're going to let you go ahead and give your lessons learned. I will jump in occasionally
All right.
and get on with those as well.
All right. So let me first preface this by saying some of these are not new lessons. Some of these are relearned lessons.
That's good.
And things you knew and should have been walking in as well.
Yep.
But they're relearned lessons, and I think those are the ones that we almost get stronger in. It seems like it's becomes a cliche or becomes a
Yep.
just a normal thing. But when you have to relive some of these lessons, it's they become
Yep.
very real. So I'll start with kind of where we started in the conversation. There's opportunity in every situation. You just got to look for it. In every situation there's opportunity. In fact, and mainly in our challenges are where our biggest opportunities come from. So look, and I'll kind of give you number two as well to go with number one. Number two is never let a crisis go to waste, and that's actually a quote credited from Winston Churchill. But never let a crisis go to waste. So you know
So I gotta ride that for a moment because
yeah.
yes, I believe that so much. But there are people who are like, my God, I don't want another crisis. But it is during crisis that we learn, we innovate, we
Hmm.
pivot, we change. Such a great point. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think in life we owe, regardless of this of the global situation, the national situation, regardless of the situation around you, we're always having challenges. We're always having crises through our life. So this being what they're calling a pandemic, it's not it's a different crisis, but it's yet you've been through crises all your life, right? So there's still opportunity in it, and don't let it go to waste. And if you allow me to marry those two, you know, during this year 2020, we were able to start a new business. And some would think that that's crazy. Businesses are closing and we're opening a business, but really when you look, if you study entrepreneurship, and a lot of big companies and great companies, they got their start during a crisis. Let me share with you why I say there's opportunity. So during 2020, and because of COVID-19, the government began to do some different incentives to generate business or generate a financial climate for business. So we were able to secure a small business loan, and the government's paying for the first 6 months of that loan. It's not a forgiveness. It's not a carry the payments to the end, but they had a program that they would make your first 6 months of payment. So that gives you 6 months to establish your business before you have to pay a dime. So you're using someone else's money to start your business, and that someone else is actually going to pay your first 6 months payments to get you going. We took advantage of buying into a franchise, and because of, again, the environment, they're trying to stimulate business. They gave us 6 months of no royalties. I was able to negotiate for a double territory. These are things that you're not able to do in a normal market, but within a crisis, there's more opportunity there. So if you have the mindset, you can take advantage of it.
It's interesting you said that, and going into 2021, I think it's important that persons understand there is actually a wealth transfer happening right now.
Yes.
There is a wealth transfer happening, and for those of us that are believers that have been praying for a wealth transfer, what they don't realize is, in order for you to tap into that wealth transfer, you have to have wisdom and an understanding of the times on how to tap into that. Because even though there's a wealth transfer that's happening, and we have all been praying to be a part of a wealth transfer where we start to gain in those times, a lot of people are still going to miss this, Dominic, because they don't see it, because they're so caught up on the negative elements of what is happening in this pandemic that they're missing the opportunities that are happening in the pandemic.
Yeah. And I think as we go through this and we start talking about our focus and our mind, some of those things become very prevalent. I haven't missed a paycheck. I've actually made more money this year on my job than I've made in any other year. But we can't discount those people who have lost their job. We can't discount the people who are struggling financially, right? And are put in a situation where things are different than what it used to be. But I want to say this, and this is going to lead into my next point. We can pray for wealth transfer and we can pray for change, but if we're not doing the things that we need to prepare for that, when the opportunity comes, we will not be in position to take advantage of what we've been praying for. And so the season comes for us to reap, but we haven't planted, we haven't sown, and so we miss out. Now, know that this is not going to be the last crisis. This is not going to be the last opportunity. So it's very important to learn from this crisis. I would say this: if we were going to title anything, I would say take advantage of the gray. I think I'm on the white stage, not the gray stage. But this is you go through these times, and I can remember in other times past, I would say, man, I wish I had the money to take advantage of that. Oh, I wish I could have do this. Next time I'm going to be ready, and then next time comes and you're not ready, right? And so if nothing else, learn from today's crisis, so that you can build your life. So when the next season comes, whether a crisis, a recession, a downturn, whatever it is, you're in the position to take advantage of it. Yeah. So
that's good. I bought stocks this first time. I was able to invest, and it's because stock prices plummeted.
Yeah.
And there were people who were able to jump on that. There were a number of other things. So thank you very much. Let's continue.
Yeah. So I guess let me go back to these first 2 points. There's more coming out of this, I guess, in my mind. During a time of crisis, you have, we'll say, permission. You have social permission to do things that you would not normally do, right? And that may be what you need to make a move that you've been stopping to make. So, consider that as well. Businesses, when we see businesses laying people off, it's not always because they don't want to lay them off. A lot of times they're unloading dead weight. Now, if you've been laid off, I'm not saying that's you. Sometimes they have to cut staff because of financial reasons, but you have the permission, the social permission to do things that you may not have been able to do before, to take risks and chances. So, take advantage of that. The third point, and this kind of goes what we were saying, is you have to save in good times so you can invest in low times, right? So, you save when the prices are high. So when the prices are low, you can buy. Look at the real estate crisis in 2008. If you were sitting on a bunch of cash in 2009, 2010, you could have bought real estate at very low prices. And then when the market corrects, if you sold them or whatever you want to do, you're able to leverage what you've been able to save. That's what I'm talking about, preparing for crisis, preparing for those opportunities when they come. Otherwise, opportunities always require some sort of sacrifice. If you have nothing to sacrifice, you can't take advantage of the opportunity. So make sure you have something. Make sure you're ready to take advantage of the opportunities that are going to come.
Let's go back at that. You said opportunities. Whenever opportunities come, it requires a sacrifice.
Always. Yeah.
Opportunities.
Always.
Listen, somebody needs to write that down.
Yeah.
Whenever opportunities present itself, it requires a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
The need to prepare for an opportunity is obviously clear that one must always be preparing themselves because opportunities are going to present themselves. Mm-hmm. But then there's sacrifice to an opportunity. Oh my goodness, that is so good, Dominic. But a lot of people aren't willing to pay the price to sacrifice.
Yeah, and I'll tie this to another point that I have. Again, a lot of these points are going to come out. Is be prepared for the unexpected, right? And so, during these crises, and if you look at people who are just getting by, you look at people that are middle class, and you look at people that are really pushing ahead, you'll see the people that are lower income, their mentality is more about survival. Middle class is more about maintaining, and those pushing forward are looking at progression, right? And so you're going to have all three of those mindsets in good times and bad times. So when crisis comes, when I say prepare for the unexpected, some may be thinking about, I need to make sure I have 3 months of food. I have to make sure I have 3 months of water, whatever, right? They're thinking in terms of survival, but think of it in terms of how can I progress in these times? How can I take advantage during these times so that when they do come, I can step out there? Yeah.
Keep it going, brother. I like it. That's some good stuff.
All right, good. So I'll throw point number, I guess this would be 5 because I put another one in there. Know what's important to you. Know what's important to you. What a great thing about a crisis, a great thing about a time of difficulty. And it's difficult for everyone. Doesn't mean it's difficult for you. But know what's important to you. Know what you really want, right? This is I think critical. Otherwise, you're going to run through life. You're going to run, and then you're going to get to a point, and you're going to look at where you are, and you're not going to like where you are. You're going to have exhausted a lot of effort, right? So know what's important to you. Know what you really want, so that you can make sure that whatever you're sacrificing for is worth it. I think that's a very key point. You want to say stuff?
Keep it going, brother.
All right, here you go. You're gonna like you're gonna like this one. This is one of my main things I've learned in this year. Is your success can become your distraction, right? So achieving one thing may not be the end, but you must be willing to continue the journey, right? So you may have achieved or obtained a certain place in life or a certain thing and realize there's more, but what you currently are living in is becoming a distraction for what you really want. And if you're not willing to move forward, if you're not willing to move away, if you're not willing to sacrifice it, you'll never go any farther, right? And understand this, you may have obtained the level in a crisis and stop there. And instead of moving forward, you'll always be living in a moment of crisis because of what you've obtained in it.
I'm going to let you keep going, Dominic.
All right.
Something. We got 20 of them to go. You got 20 many of them. I'm going to jump in occasionally. So
All right,
you don't
we'll
have to
keep
stop
going.
because
All
I
right.
love these. And persons are watching. We got persons all over. The Bahamas are plugged in. I'm appreciative of these because if you guys listen in and you grab a hold of what's for you, let me tell you something. A lesson learned for Dominic could be a lesson learned for you because here's the deal. You're learning from his experience rather than having to go through the year again only to learn the same lesson. And so tap in, capture, write down, and declare you capturing the lesson for yourself as well. Go ahead, Dominic.
All right. So your success can become a distraction. Also could become a comfort, right? And so you have to be willing to let that go. Always have options. I tell people if you don't have an option, you don't have an option, right? So always have options so you're not backed into a corner, right? You do not want to become dependent upon your own success. Meaning this, you may have gotten to a place, let's say a job, right? And you're making more money than you ever have. But what you've done is you've increased your lifestyle to a level where you have to be on that job. And when it comes time to make a decision, you can't make a decision without great sacrifice, because what you've done is you've put more requirements on your life where you're now backed into a corner. And because you've been so focused on what you're doing, you haven't looked at the options of what you can do. And so now you become dependent upon your own success and you become trapped. And now your own success will become a frustration.
Wow. I believe effective living at its best is a life filled with options.
Yeah.
Listen, man. Listen, Dominic, that's so good, man. And you said it right. It's amazing. We make more, and then what we do is we start to increase our lifestyle to maximize what we're making, rather than positioning ourselves for the increase to position us for a better level of options.
Yeah.
Now, not because you have the option to mean you need to cash in and take it, because the more you can hold off on, the more options you'll be able to have, which will strengthen your position.
Yep. All sacrifices. All comes with sacrifices. All right. Number 9, I guess you say, invest in yourself and invest in your mind. Very important. Especially, I'm sure many of you who have gone through this year, who have had hard times and difficult times, and even if you're doing well, what's around you, I mean, fear is being put around you. If your mind is not right, your mind will betray you. Everything will be in line. Everything will be working out according to a plan, but your mind will betray you and you'll start thinking something is wrong when nothing is wrong. You've got to invest in your mind. You're not going to go any higher than your thoughts, your thinking. You've got to invest in your mind, become better, think better, put new knowledge, we don't see opportunities because we can't think about them. Our mind is not conditioned to see them properly.
So what you're saying is for those persons who they can't see it, they may need to go ahead and get some work done so they can learn how to see it.
Yeah.
Because it's not that it's not there. Opportunity is there. Opportunity has been given to us during the pandemic in 2020. Opportunities will be given to us in 2021.
Yeah.
There are people who can only see that, good things are always happening to him. Good things are always happening to them.
Yeah.
But they haven't developed their mindset to be able to see how many options they have for themselves. Wow, Dominic, another great one.
All right. Number 10, your health is a foundational piece for your success, right? Your body is a vehicle that must be able to endure the journey. And your body can be an enabler or it can be a limiting factor to your success. The more you want to accomplish, it's going to require more effort and energy and time. And if your physical body cannot keep up with it, it'll stop you. It'll break you down. It's extremely important, right? So this is the pandemic dealing specifically with health. People start looking at health, but what they shut in instead of exercise. And actually it begins to get worse. But what about in any time is just know that your body is that vehicle, and it will either enable you to accomplish what you want to accomplish, or it's going to limit you. You can only go so far. And I'll tell you this, while many of us are chasing after money, let your body shut down. And let's see how important that money is. When you're sitting there and you're sitting in a hospital and and your body is malfunctioning on you. There's a dysfunction in your body. You feel hopeless,
Yeah.
and you're at the mercy of doctors and nurses and whatever else. And no matter no matter what, look, if your shoes wear out, you buy a new pair of shoes. If you get a flat tire, you go get a new flat tire, right? If your engine breaks down, you take it to the mechanic and they fix it. But when your body begins to dysfunction, it's a whole nother story, right? And your money, yeah, it could pay a doctor, but it's a much more complex issue, and you're totally helpless
Yeah.
in that moment.
And the interesting thing, Dominic, is the repair factor for your body is unlike any other repair
Yeah.
factors. In other words, you may never get your body back to optimum performance, and you may have had the opportunity to prevent rather than trying to repair.
Yeah, and if you look at medicine, right? Understand this: when your car breaks down, the mechanic has to go and fix the physicality of the engine. When your body breaks down, what medicine does, it puts your body in the condition to repair itself. Even if they're repairing a part, the body has to accept that part, right? If you get an organ transplant, right, your body has to accept it, and when in its acceptance, it takes that and it becomes a part of what already exists, because the body has the ability to heal itself and the reproduction of cells. And I'm not a doctor by no means, but you know what that's a different environment than changing an alternator, right? You put the right alternator and it's going to work, right? But your body is different, and you can't pay it to become better. All right. So there we go. So your health, very key. And that's something that you teach yourself, Ricardo. Health is a big thing in effective living. Look, you could be laying on the beach feeling good, having all the fun and have a heart attack and die right there, or have a stroke there. And being worse than having a heart attack and dying, you can have a stroke and live in a state where you can't move half your body. Right. And now the beach, it makes you comfortable, but your life is never the same.
Never the same. It's amazing how it is a known fact that people fight for everything and don't oftentimes give the same level of fight for taking care of the vehicle that they're going to use to fulfill the assignment. This has been one of those struggles. Let me tell you something. The way they're producing food now, food is a drug. Yeah. And most food, it has an addiction dynamics to it where they build it for yearning. So the level of discipline a person has to have, it has to be off the charts when it comes to taking care of your body, or else you're going to be a slave to the drug of choice. Yep. And whatever that is, you're going to find yourself leaning towards, which eventually can become the thing that overtakes you.
Yeah. Good deal. All right. Number 11. And this is for you folks. I guess it's for everybody. I'll say this is you got to stay close to God. Stay in prayer and worship with your mind. Keep your mind right. Prayer and worship will keep your mind, but his word will order your steps. God is a stabilizer in the unknown. God is a stabilizer in the unknown. The Bible says this. It says that commit your ways unto the Lord, and he'll establish your thoughts, right? So in times of crisis, when seems like you're losing your mind, you don't know commit your ways unto the Lord, and he'll establish your thoughts. Prayer and worship will keep your mind, and his word will order your steps. Very important in time of crisis and unknown. I'll also add to that is walk in balance, right? Walk in balance. So God's will is very broad, which means it covers every area of our life. And as broad as it is, it's very specific, meaning in all those areas, he has a specific will for our life. So it's broad, it's specific, and it's complete, meaning every area affects the other, right? So we're living spiritually, emotionally, relationally, physically, financially. All those pieces of our life work together. We have to live in balance, one of the other. I come back to the money thing, because when people think of success, a lot of times we think of money. But you can have a great bank account, but if you don't have peace in your home, right, you're going to be jacked up. You're not going to be able to come home and relax because you and your spouse are at, you got to go see Vito and his wife and get your relationship right. You have to walk in balance. You can't sacrifice an area for another area because it'll end up taking away. So if you want to have effective living, you need to walk in balance in every area of your life. So there's that. All right. Have a written plan. A written plan, or it can be as simple as a list of goals. A written plan gives direction in insecure moments. And during crisis, you're going to have a lot of insecure moments. And what makes them even more insecure is that everyone else is flipping out. And so while everyone else who doesn't have a plan, who's not committed to this, and who's just running around in survival mode, right, that's going to feed into your own insecurity, because now you're really an outcast, right? You thought you were an outcast, and the other times were just average people doing average things. We're saying you were a fanatic. In times of crisis, you're really a fanatic now, because you're talking about pushing forward, right? And so in those insecure times, that written plan, those list of goals are going to give direction. They're going to create your path so that even when you can't think it or see it, you can walk it. Importance of having a written plan. All right. Number 14. Forward movement requires risk. Forward movement requires risk. And you have to understand your risk tolerance and move.
Let's talk about that. Forward movement, you said, requires risk.
Risk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's amazing. Persons are preparing to go into 2021. They haven't looked at the lesson learned for 2020 and don't realize, I want to move forward, but moving forward requires a risk. But here's the deal. The way we've been taught is to stay within the safety category or area. And so the people who normally get most out of life are the people who are prepared to take the greater risk. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. But you have to understand your risk tolerance, right? A single man who has no kids and no responsibility, his tolerance for risk, and I'm not talking mentally, I'm talking about living wise, his tolerance for risk is very minimal, right? He can go bankrupt and live with a friend or something, or live in his, you can make that, but when you have a family, your risk tolerance becomes different, right? And you have to understand that risk tolerance and know what you're risking so that you can move and design your life so that you have the ability to move. If there's too much there, you become paralyzed. And the seasons move on. We may not, but the seasons move on, right? And we can be stuck. Some of us are stuck in 2015. And we're talking about the crisis of 2020. Somebody may be stuck in 2015 because they haven't been able to move forward. Forward movement always requires risk. Why? Because where you are, you know it. Where you're going, you don't know. So forward movement always requires risk. All right. This is one of my foundational sayings that I have, and I added in here because it's not a new lesson, but boy, is it a strong one. Is small steps over time equal big results. You got to keep moving, man.
Yeah.
Small steps over time. It's really, it's foundational for what my philosophy is. Small steps over time equal big results. Some of those steps are a crawl. Some of them are a drag. Some of them are a run, a leap, or whatever. But over time, they equal big results. As long as you keep moving forward, you can get knocked back 2-3 steps. Keep moving forward. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Over time, you're going to get the result.
Dominic, I've been saying this year, encouraging persons, I call them baby steps. There's the Chinese proverb, I think, that says, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think about how far back we are or how much we've not accomplished in relation to what we want to accomplish, the magnitude of what we're wanting to accomplish. But if you take those baby steps, I had the privilege of doing an interview this morning in the Bahamas virtually. And one of the things that I was able to talk about was that I am the result of a commitment to making baby steps.
Yeah.
And it's that I left high school with an attendance certificate. I still don't have a college degree, but because I made a commitment to
Yes.
learning every day
Yeah.
learning, reading, exposing myself to more, that forward movement continued. And now, 25 years later, I believe I can stand on the platform with the best of them,
Yeah.
not because of what has occurred in the past, but what has
Right.
consistently been occurring.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Small steps over time equal big results. All right. Here's one here. This is a key one that I highlighted as well for 2020 is you cannot avoid overcoming your weaknesses. You cannot avoid overcoming your weaknesses. What caused you to fail in the past will continue to cause you to fail until it's covered or overcome. So if it's covered, understand. All right. So here we go. So every failure in your past, you failed for a reason, right? And maybe you weren't willing to take a risk. Maybe you weren't willing to stick it out. Maybe you weren't willing to multitask or to do several things or to make the sacrifice or whatever it is, right? Whatever caused you to fail is still there. And so just because you're doing something new doesn't mean that the weakness is not there. It just means that this new thing now is going to bring that weakness back up. And unless you overcome it, you're going to fail again.
It's interesting, Dominic. I've been saying that if you pass the test, you don't have to retake the exam.
Yeah.
You know, and so you're so right. I found that there are people who are going to go into 2021 tomorrow, and they're going to repeat a lot of what they did in 2020 that was mistakes, that were lessons that should have been learned. They didn't learn the lesson, and they're repeating the same cycle.
Yeah.
And there are people we know in and out, year in, year out, they're wondering why they're stagnant. Now, what I like to compliment, going back to your initial point, those people who are making sure every week I'm doing something. Every week I'm doing something. And that's the consistent people who are making baby steps. But I like what you said. Identifying what is it that I'm doing that I'm failing at.
Yeah.
And why have I not stopped to address that at the core so that I can get a different result rather than ignoring it? Because here's the deal. If I want to get there, I'm going to have to go through that test. Yeah. And years may go by and I still don't address the test. Yeah. So now you're increasing in age, but you haven't passed that season yet. Yeah. And some people prefer to drop out. And that's where they find themselves living a life of regret. Because now they knew they never gave themselves to passing the test.
Yeah. And it's because we don't want to blame ourselves. We want to blame the situation. So we think that in this new thing that I'm doing is going to be different. Right. So I'm going to do something new and it's going to be different, but it's not. I'll tell you why it's not, because you're not different. You're still dealing with the same thing yourself. Right. So you can either cover your weakness or you can overcome your weakness. Right. So understand this, and you can get by doing both. And I'm going to give you an example. If you cover a weakness, it becomes a disability. Right. So if I cannot walk, if I'm paralyzed and I cannot walk, I have a disability. And what I do is I cover that by getting a wheelchair that allows me to walk, but it's still a disability. I still cannot walk. But what I've done is enabled myself through an outside source to be able to move. Right. If you overcome it, it's going to be tested again. But if you retained it, you overcome it. And now you can and that's like someone who has learned to walk again. And now he can walk on his own. He doesn't need a wheelchair. So this is, those who know me know I'm pretty transparent. So I'm really good at starting stuff. And people who know me, I have uncommon favor. When I'm going to start something, things happen and it starts strong. But when it started, I lose interest. Once it started, look, I did my job. I'm done. That gets you can see how that gets you to a point where you start stuff and you got to keep starting stuff, right? But it never becomes what it needs to be, right? So I have my wife who is the other way, right? So I get started, she's able to carry it on, and then I get re-energized so I can come in and restart it, and then she can carry it on and restart it, right? So I still have a disability. but it's being covered through my partnership with my wife, right? But it's still there. So I can't fool myself in thinking that I can do this on my own because I have a disability, right? Fortunately, I have a partner, though, that can cover that disability for us to make it. Okay? All right. So there goes that. We got that one. All right. I think we're on 17 now. You'll like this one, Ricardo. We've talked about this several times this year.
Yeah,
Life,
you're doing great, brother. This is some really good stuff.
life will pay whatever price you demand of it. Life will pay whatever price you demand of it. If you demand life to pay very little, you will live very little. It'll oblige whatever price tag you put on it. But if you demand life to pay a high price, it'll pay that as well. The choice is yours. The Bible says it reigns in the just and the unjust, right? It's the same environment. It's what we do in life that puts a demand on it. So life will pay whatever price you demand of it.
So the question is, what are you going to demand of life?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
here's the deal. Life will pay whatever. What'd you say?
What life will pay whatever price you demand of it.
Somebody needs to write that down. Life will pay whatever price you demand of it. Okay, so listen, Dominic is my brother, man. Listen, Dominic has been pushing me. Dominic, you've been there when I've been afraid because I've been so accustomed to operating at a very, very comfortable place, but it was so below my potential. There were times you were like, brother, you need to roar, you need to soar, you need to jump, you need to do what you got to do. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, as Dominic just said, listen, life will pay you. You listen, but the question is, how prepared are you to give a demand to 2021?
That's it. That's it.
Demand on 2021. When I say, I've been saying this for the last 3 to 6 months, I'm coming for all that's mine.
Yeah, and it can't be a motivational thing like, hey, I'm listening to this thing. Hey, I'm going to demand a lot. You know, that goes away really quick, right? It's like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face, right? So you know, it sounds good. Everyone wants a lot, but that demand. Remember, we're talking about forward movement requires sacrifice. We're talking about small steps.
That's where you know people. When I say I'm coming for all that's mine. Then you got people like, well, why are you going so much? Why you got a book in your hand? Why are you always doing a video? Why are you writing another book? Why are you doing another seminar? Because I'm coming for all that's mine. How do you expect for me to get what's mine if I don't put in the work to get what's mine? It's going to require a hustle. I like what you said. Saying I'm coming for all that's mine is not enough. Show me your action.
You have to go. You have to go and do it. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you have to go. And just know all the people that are telling you, why are you doing all this? Those are the people who have decided not to do it, right? Average people will always complain about above average people because what you've done is take away the excuse that they've put in place to remain average.
Boy, listen, you closing this out with the ball.
Hey, that was a free one. That's not one of my 20s, but that was a free one.
So you said that people who complain about how you're showing up, the effort that you're giving towards your dreams, they've already given up, and they want you to go on normal mode.
Yeah.
Greatness is not acquired through normal practices.
Yeah. Because your success becomes their disruption. It becomes it highlights their dissatisfaction. It becomes a frustration because they're like, man, I remember when I gave up. You know, why don't you come sit on the couch with me and watch TV and eat potato chips and drink soda? So I can feel good about it.
Yeah. I remember when I gave up. And here's the deal. There are some people, if they can see you have the potential to outbe what they've ever been or ever will be, they will constantly try to throw water on your fire and try to out your blaze. And you got to be careful. Some people just don't want you to shine because it's going to show them up because they're not prepared to give in or put in the work to become who they were destined to be.
That's correct. Your own family will do it.
Wow.
So, all right, we're going to get to that. I think that's point 20 as well. So we'll get to that. All right. So use what you have, start where you are, and do what you can. Don't look at what you don't have. Don't look at what you can't do. Don't worry about, oh, I'm not here, I'm not there. Use what you got, start where you are, and do what you can. This goes right in line with small steps over time. If you look at what you don't, so this is the struggle with vision, right? Vision shows you of what you will be. People who don't properly understand vision will become a disappointing. It'll become overwhelming, right? They'll look at it and say, "Oh my God, there's no way I can do that. Look what I have now. There's no way." But you'll never accomplish what you're going to be from where you are. Along that journey, you're going to get more resources. You're going to become more. You're going to do more all through this time. And then by the time you accomplish what you saw 10 years ago, you're going to be a whole different person, a whole different place. So you've got to start now. You've got to use what you got, and you got to do what you can, and just keep making small steps over time. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brother is fired up, man. Dominick is fired up. He's bringing it home. Keno McCartney, thank you very much for joining us. Nikki, thank you for joining us. Vito and Jocelyn and Deborah, man. Listen, all of you guys, wherever you're watching from, please put it in the comment. And as a matter of fact, do us a favor, subscribe to this channel and invite someone to watch. But go ahead, Dominick.
And if you don't have the book Effective Living and you're not living an effective life, a good place to start is with that book. All right. It's never too late. It's never too late to start living your dream. It's never too late to start living your dream. As long as you're still breathing, it's not over. So look, don't look at what you have not done in the past, right? What you haven't done in the past and the failure, and this is something I had to learn because I've had a lot of failures in my past, is looking like, man, I'm never, if I would have only done this, if I would have only done that, but the failures you've had in your past, the things that you've gone through in your life in the past have brought you and have made you of who you are today. And it's really, it fools you. It fools you because you think it's too late to start living your dream when all the while you've been walking towards it and you're just in a different season. It's never too late to start living your dream. As long as you're breathing, you can still do it. All right, here's a very important one. The direction of your life today creates the level of difficulty of your choices tomorrow. So let's just say this is the path to my vision or my dream, right, of where I want to go. And where I am today, I'm making decisions that are taking me this direction. The longer I make those decisions, the farther I get from, there we go. My camera's backwards. This is like tapping my head and going in circles. The farther I am from my vision. So the farther out I go, the more difficult choices I have to make a course correction. But if I make the right decisions here, my decisions are much easier as I continue on that path. But as soon as I start veering from that path, the longer I go, the more difficult it is to come back. So here's this. You're supposed to start your own business, but instead you got a job. And as you're going through the corporate ladder, your income gets higher, your career success becomes greater, and now you're living way over here. You're living way over here when you should be here. And now you say, you know what? I want to start that business. Well, now you have a much larger gap because you got more to give up. You have a family now. You've got more responsibilities. Those are very difficult choices to make in order to get all the way back here. But if you were staying on this path, the gap is much smaller. So the choices you make today will determine the level of difficulty of the choices you'll have to make tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are getting some good stuff on this New Year's Eve night. I'm joined with my good friend Dominick Antonino. My God, this is some good stuff. Please go back and write this down. Look at where you are and ask yourself, what is it that I need to implement from what I've learned tonight, what I've learned this week, and make sure that you engage yourself in the highest of practice in 2021. Go ahead, Dominick.
All righty, sir. So here's the last one. And we've touched on this. Know who to walk with and who to run from. That's very key. Know who to walk with and who to run from. Right. So I'm gonna. I think I said this when I was sharing with when I was with Vito.
You're gonna have to repeat that because somebody needs to write that in the chat because that is, oh my goodness. I'm gonna
All right.
write that one down and put it in my office across a noticing deal because I think you said you have to know who to walk with and know who to walk away from.
No, know who to walk with and who to run from.
And who to run from. Woo.
Know who to walk with and who to run from. Let me tell you, this is going to deliver some people out there right here. There's some people that are in love with what they need from you. They're not in love with you. They're in love with what they need from you or what they want from you. And once they get it, they're going to be gone. And it's going to create hurt. Right? So know who you're with. Your association will dictate your direction. Right? And this is how it does. Your association, the circle that you run with, it either applies pressure or it presents comfort. The circle you run with either applies pressure or presents comfort. For instance, let's say you're 200 pounds and you want to become 160 pounds, but you hang around people that are 250. If you hang around people that are 250, you're going to be very comfortable at 200 because you're 50 pounds lighter than the people. So it's okay. So for you to get to 160, you really got to achieve, right, in your circle. But if you start hanging around athletes and you start hanging around people who are 150 and 160, who are more like what you really want to be, it's going to create a pressure on your life that's going to say, okay, that pressure now becomes a motivator. Like, okay, I need to do this because the circle whom I'm with is going to create the environment that I'm going to live in, right? So that's why you got to hang around with eagles so that you can soar. Otherwise, you're going to be okay waddling around on the earth like a chicken who doesn't fly. So you're either going to peck for the corn or you're going to fly high and do the best. Who you hang around with is going to dictate that. So you got to know who to walk with and who to run from.
Ooh, Dominic, I'm going to write that one out. You know, I've been saying, listen, it's impossible to put your hands in a bucket of glue without some of that glue sticking to you. Your association matters because, and that's positive and negative.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you're wanting to lose that weight, but the group around you are so much more than you in having weight, but yet you are less, but you still want to bring down your weight and take control of it, the struggle to break that is not going to be supported by your community.
No, not at all. In fact, what you want, what you see is going to be in contradiction to what you want. Because who's around you? The norm, the picture, you already look like success because you're 200 and not 250. And so what you see is different.
Dominick Antonino, he joined us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, providing us with 20 lessons learned in 2020. Or he said, what you said at the beginning, or these were lessons learned again.
Yeah. Many of them are lessons that are
many of them are lessons learned again. I appreciate you, brother. This was such good stuff. We wanted you to come in and share. Tomorrow is 2021. Closing thoughts, man. Just closing thoughts to those that are viewing. A lot of people are going to watch this over the next few days. Give us your closing thoughts.
Yeah, I would say this is don't live in the past. It's gone, right? The moment, just the moment that I'm speaking right now is gone as soon as it's over, right? And so as you're crossing into this year, it doesn't have to be about a year living seasoned. Know what you want and go after it. Be willing to pay the price and make the decisions today that are going to align you with that. So that you can make it the best year ever. So,
once again, Dominic, thank you very much. That's my brother, ladies and gentlemen. You all will see him again on this channel for sure. Listen, on Monday and Tuesday, we're starting the year off strong next week with our Build Your Best Year webinar. For those of you that are already in my coaching program, you get that automatic access to come into the webinar and enjoy it. 2 sessions per day, 4 general sessions that's going to be life-changing. Coming up with the appropriate strategy, step-by-step plan. Dominic talk about those small baby steps that's necessary for producing big returns. We're going to talk about that on Monday and Tuesday. If you're watching this and you're not a part of my coaching program, paid coaching program, you need to go ahead and register at ricardomiller.com. Listen,
Invest in
guys,
yourself.
it's going
Be
to
a
be really
pro.
good.
Pros need coaches.
Say it again.
Pros have coaches. Pros need coaches.
Pros have coaches. I
That's
like
right.
that. Somebody write that down for me.
Yeah.
Pros have
If you
coaches.
want to be an amateur, continue to work out on your own. But if you want to live as a pro, a professional level, hire a coach.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right here on Effective Living. Listen, tomorrow night, we're closing out first day of 2020. We're going to do one more of these sessions. And my good friend, Miranda Innes, she's going to be joining us. And she's awesome, as all of our presenters this week has been. Love and appreciate you all. I will see you all next year. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.